So I want to.
Hey, Wendy, what's going on? Yeah, I had just muted everybody, but when it hits 11, I'll just do a really short intro and I can bring up the coconut curried lentils and I'll let you take it away. Yeah, you're still muted, but yeah, just so as soon as it hits 11 on the dot, I'll just do a quick couple sentences, say it's the coconut curried lentils, and then it'll be all you. Yeah, you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself?
How's that?
There we go. Okay.
All right, on. Okay,
Sounds good.
good. I can do this cooking in my sleep. It's the tech that drives me crazy.
Yes, it's oh, technology's great till it's not, right?
Yes, yes.
We'll get some water. I'll be right back and then I'll intro you in.
Okay, cool.
And Wendy, Dina just messaged me that she forgot to send the link with the reminder email, so that might be why not a ton of people are, but it is being recorded. So
Okay.
just so you know.
Okay, great.
And I'll still introduce you, so we'll be all good. We'll do a little less than 2 minutes.
Okay, great.
All right. Hello, team. Welcome to the Healthy Cooking Demo today. Our registered dietitian and nutritionist, Wendy Wesley, is here. She's going to be doing a nice demo of coconut curried lentils. So, Wendy, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Okay. Hey, thank you for having me back, Hillsborough County. And you're such a good audience. I love having y'all. And this may seem a little strange for December to do kind of a coconut curried lentils, but January is going to hit like a bomb, and we all may be looking for something easy and quick to make for dinner that doesn't involve Uber Eats or DoorDash. Ordering in $75, $100 for a family by the time you do, tax and tip and all of that. And so this is a very, very easy, believe it or not, recipe that they may have looked like a lot of ingredients, but a lot of that might have been spices. But this is a very, very easy recipe. And the reason is the magic of lentils. Lentils are nice and small, and they soak up water very quickly, and they cook very quickly. And that's why I am able to make this soup in 30 minutes or, 45, maybe of course, a lot of the cook time is on the stove simmering, and then you're free to do other things like helping kids with homework or folding laundry or just taking a minute and just relaxing. So I started out about a half hour ago putting 1 1/4 cup of lentils into this bowl with just water. And one of the reasons why I do that is because I want to make sure that these beans are fresh. I've had beans that weren't fresh, and they just won't suck up water. And what that tells me is they might be old or stale. And no matter how long you cook them, they will not get soft. In fact, the first time I cooked beans from whole beans, I cooked them and cooked them and cooked them hours and hours and hours, and they just would not get cooked. They wouldn't cook all the way through. And I thought, well, I must just suck at beans. And it wasn't the case. They were very, very old beans. I was a teenager. They'd been in my mom's cupboard for a long time, and I just didn't know better. And so I'm here to tell you, it's not you, it's the beans. If they won't suck up the water or they won't cook, then they may never cook, and it's not your fault. You may just have a set of old beans. So, but these lentils have sucked up quite a bit of water in just a half hour, and that tells me that they're fresh and they're ready to go. Before I put them in the soup, I will drain them, however. Okay, let me set those aside. So all of my great meals, pretty much almost everything I cook starts with an onion. Meatloaf starts with an onion, spaghetti, all the soups, all the stews, all the chilies, all the curries, everything basically in my food world starts with an onion. And so this is just a yellow Spanish onion. I buy them at Aldi in 3 to 5 pound bags. They're a staple item, and I keep them in the refrigerator. I keep them in the drawers of death. Y'all have heard me talk about the drawers of death before, and that's where you would put nice, fluffy, fresh produce like lettuce. If you want it to die, you would put it in the drawers of death because out of sight, out of mind. There's no moisture, but I do keep root vegetables in my drawers, my vegetable crisper drawers. I keep my potatoes and I keep my onions there, and some purists will say, you really should not put your onions and potatoes in the fridge, but I don't know. They're ready when I am. I think they taste fine. They're not growing weird sprouts. They're not getting moldy. They're just fine. And so that's where I keep my root vegetables. I don't keep my lettuces there. Y'all have heard me talk about the vegetable humidor, the beautiful vegetable humidor. Here I am. I'm going to show it to you again till you get it through your head. This is the game changer in the kitchen. Here it is. I've got lettuce. I have onions. I have some tomatoes. These are all things that if you just left them out in the environment in the refrigerator, they would just die on you. They would lose their moisture content, their rigidity. They wouldn't be edible. They would just get kind of sloppy and soupy. The secret is tucked in the corner is this wet paper towel. And then with the lid on, I have a very, very humid system. It's very, very humid inside this box, keeps everything nice and crisp. And all this is an old lettuce box. I just ate the lettuce, didn't throw it away. And I keep it at eye level in the fridge. Every time you open the fridge, there's your vegetables staring you down. Hello, lady. Hello, sir. You bought these gorgeous produce, sometimes expensive produce, to get in the belly, not to get in the trash can right here behind me. It's meant to get in the belly. And in order to do this, when you open the fridge, I want it to confront you. I want your fruits and vegetables to say, here we are. Here we are. Let's eat us. Okay, let me get going on my onion. I'm going to demonstrate again how to do an onion. When I teach people how to use knives, I always teach them to cut flat. So with this onion, there's only going to be one kind of scary kind of cut, and it's that first cut because I'm going to get a flat surface. I'm going to use my claw grip. You see my claw grip. I'm pressing down on my wood cutting board with my knife. I'm going to come down on it, and what I've created is a flat surface. You see how steady and sturdy that onion is for my cutting. Right down, that was the top of the onion. That's where the green stuff comes out when it sticks out of the ground. That's how it conducts its photosynthesis. It collects the sun. So I cut the top flat. This is the root end. See all the root, the fuzzy roots? Okay, I'm going to right through the middle of the root. I am going to use the heel of my hand to push down. That's why we cook standing up, so we can actually use our body as leverage to get over some of these. I do the same thing with potatoes. I stand up, use the heel of my hand as leverage, and get a flat surface on that potato. So here I go, down right the middle, easy, pushing down, safe. Nobody gets hurt, nobody gets cut. And so I'm going to do, now when I cut the onion, it means, when I cut the onion, it makes it so much easier to peel. Before I started cutting onions this way, I used to just try and peel the onion, and it was hard to do. And now when I cut it, it gives you a little bit of area to get your fingernail with some purchase underneath the skin and peel it off. Look, I just peeled that onion. How fast was that? Throwing away the discards. If you compost, all of this goes in the compost pile. If you're a gardener, you know all of this, it goes in the compost pile. So again, I have a flat surface. Here's my root. My root's over here. I'm coming in. The point of my knife is pointing towards the root, and I'm just going to make some cuts. I'm not going to cut all the way through to the root. I'm going to leave the root intact. So I'm going to make an 8 of these, 9 of these, as many as I can, and then turning the knife the other direction, and look at this gorgeous dice. Boom, dice, 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 dice. Look how fast I have taken this onion. Now, if I weren't talking and demonstrating, I would have done this very, very fast. The more you do it, the faster you get, the easier it gets. I'm going to start with some oil. Again, pretty much almost everything I do. Oil, onion. I've got a big kind of a saucepan here that is heating up. The way I know that my oil is ready to go is one thing. I can put a little piece of onion and it should sizzle. It's sizzled. Y'all saw this, the oil splash. And the other way I know that my oil is ready is it moves quickly across the surface of the pan. Okay, cold oil will kind of move slowly, and a hot oil will move real fast across the bottom of the pan. Okay, more onion, more onion. Put that in there. Let it kind of get nice and golden brown. Cooking. I don't want to burn it, so I'm going to keep my heat kind of medium. I'm going to do the other, because the recipe does call for a full onion. So I'm going to do the other half. Again, look how easy this is to peel. Peeling this very, very easy. Now, today I walked over to Publix with the intention of buying coconut milk, and they didn't have coconut milk. And sometimes they don't. You know, you'll find the coconut milk in the international section of Publix. And it's usually lumped with the Thai cooking. Coconut milk is lumped with the Thai cooking. And this is if you wanted to make the recipe vegan. They didn't have coconut milk today, so I said, okay, how do I pivot? And I pivoted with heavy whipping cream. You could use a light whipping cream that will have lower fat, but I'm going to do a heavy whipping cream. And you know what? I'm probably not going to use the full cup and a half because that's a very, very, very fatty recipe. I might just go half and then increase the water. I'll see as I get going. But you can you can make this vegan, you can make it non-vegan, you can decrease the fat by using less of the coconut milk or regular milk, or just using a lighter version. So the recipe calls for some stewed tomatoes. You can do stewed tomatoes, but I just happen to have these fresh tomatoes on hand, and I thought, well, I probably ought to use them. I'm going out of town tomorrow, and I may not get to them before time. These are just little little cherry tomatoes. I'm just doing them in half, and they're all going to stew up. But you can use canned. This recipe can be made on a weeknight, believe it or not. And one of the ways that happens is because you're using some canned ingredients. And one of the canned ingredients that you can use is some stewed diced tomatoes, which I think is a staple ingredient. So in my pantry, there's beans, there's stewed tomatoes, there's always not always coconut milk. I'm trying to kind of incorporate a coconut milk always to have some in my pantry, and I just haven't really gotten there yet. I always have some dried peas, typically green peas, just in case I get a ham hock and I'll make a split pea soup, which is one of my favorites. Or I always have lentils. Now, lentils have become a staple because of this. They cook so darn fast. They soak up the water fast and they cook fast. It's the only reason I can make a soup from dried beans is because it's lentils, and it's because they're nice and small. Small beans cook fast, big beans cook slower. That it's just, it takes more time and temperature to get to the middle of like a big cannellini bean or like a big, a navy bean. It takes more time and temperature to get to the middle and to penetrate to the middle of that, make it soft, versus a lentil, which is nice and small. That's why we can do this in 30 minutes. So I'm going to turn up the heat and let it really, really get going. Okay, these are cooking. I turned up the heat. And at this point, I'm going to do my garlic. Now, you want to make sure you don't scorch your garlic. So it's good to have other things in the pan so the garlic does not get scorched. And so what I have here is a bulb. This is a bulb of garlic, and I'm going to pull off cloves. I'm going to pull off, the recipe calls for how many? It calls for 3. You can do 2, you can do 3. You can use garlic, which is jarred garlic, but you got to use more of it because it's lost its potency through the process of being chopped and put in a jar and sitting on a shelf for a while. I've also discovered this, it's in my freezer. It's peeled garlic, and I keep it in the freezer. Again, I have to use more of it. And it kind of depends on how much time I have and what kind of mood I'm in. Am I really interested in chopping garlic? It kind of depends on how much time and what kind of a mood I'm in. So I'm doing fresh today. I'm going to give this a crunch under the heel of my hand. I don't want my laptop to fall over. That's why I'm trying to be careful. And so what I did under the heel of my hand and the knife, I just did a smash. And then again, the peel of this garlic just fell right off. just from that smash. Look at that. Look how easy that was. Now you could use a garlic press. Let's see, I hope my laptop doesn't fall. Okay, you can use garlic press or you could just chop it. Up to you. Up to you. What am I going to do today? What am I going to do? I think I might use my press today. I'm not feeling like chopping garlic today. I'm going to use my press. Okay, so the peel has come off. Not that easy. I should have given that a harder whack. Didn't want my laptop to fall over. And okay, so I've got these two nice big cloves of garlic. Hold on, I'm going to grab my press. I'm just going to use my press. You could chop your garlic or you could use the press. I put the whole peeled clove in here and I'm pressing it over the pan. And then with my knife, I'm scraping, see all that garlic? I'm scraping it off into the pan. Now I wouldn't do this if it was just oil because that garlic would scorch, but the tomatoes and the onions will prevent that garlic from scorching too bad because it'll all be incorporated. I wish you could smell this. It smells just gorgeous. It smells lovely. Okay. And then the second clove of garlic into the pan. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. There we go. Scrape. I'm gonna scrape it off with a spoon this time. Okay. All right. Oh, love this smell. Here's the other thing. You're cooking at home. And maybe everybody's home from their day and they smell this beautiful food cooking. It gets the appetite going. My hope for you in the new year is that there can be meals around the table without devices, without phones, without television that you can spend with your family, have conversation around food. I think it is a really, if you're looking for a New Year's resolution, at least one time per week, we sit down to eat as a family or as a couple or however we define who we are, our people. And we have conversation and we don't have television and we don't have devices and we sit down and we connect over food and eat this maybe not every day of the week. I understand there's sports and all this, but maybe it's just you're like one day a week. This is how our family is going to eat. We're going to eat and connect device free, television free. Okay. I'll get off my soapbox about that. Okay. So this is coming together nice. Everything's getting all cooked down and ooey gooey and wonderful. I'm going to add my spices now. It does call for fresh ginger, but again, this is quick weeknight cooking. If you don't have fresh ginger, I'm just going to use some ground ginger. I'm just going to get some ground ginger going. I tend to be heavy-handed with spices. I tend to not measure. The measurements are in the recipe if you'd like to use the measurements, but this is just ground ginger, and I tend to be kind of heavy-handed with it. I have a curry powder. This is just from a restaurant supply store, but you can find a curry powder in pretty much every single specialty store or Publix or grocery store. It's everywhere. It's very ubiquitous. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do some nutmeg. You could do nutmeg, cinnamon. I know these, you may think of these spices as, cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. And ginger is like dessert spices or apple pie spices, but these spices are regularly used in all kinds of international cooking, and it adds like an interesting dimension to this stew. Black pepper, of course. This is fresh ground black pepper. Doesn't have to be, but if you have a mill, this is also kind of a fun job for the kids. If you want to get the kids involved, you can get them turning the crank and getting it going. Okay, so these spices are gorgeous. So we have onion and tomato, we have curry, we have ginger, we have nutmeg, we have garlic. All of this this wonderful stuff is happening. And it's all cooking up and it's all getting nice and flavorful and ooey and gooey. And next is my lentils. So my lentils have been soaking and I'm going to drain them over the sink. I'm going to drain this water over the sink. Okay. I'm not going to rinse them because a little bit of the starch is okay. It'll help thicken the soup. I poured my lentils in there. Cooking. They're getting all incorporated with all of these gorgeous spices, onions, garlic, ginger, nutmeg, all this beautiful spice getting all incorporated. Then I'm going to add the 1 1/4 cup of water. Okay, I can turn this down put the lid on it, and then let it cook. Let it cook. And so at this point, I can go fold laundry. I can go help somebody with their homework. I can just sit and just do whatever I want. I can meditate. I can just do whatever I want because this takes a little bit of time to cook. Where is my lid? Can't find my lid. Anyway, there it is. Here's my lid. So what I would do is would put the lid on it, I'll bring it down to low, and I'm just gonna let everybody cook, everybody simmer. And this at this point, maybe, I don't know, it depends. It depends on how much water the beans, the lentils soaked up, but this could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You're just gonna have to kind of check it and test one of your little lentils should be soft and ready to go. And then the last thing we're gonna do is add either the coconut milk, or in my case, the heavy whipping cream. I'm going to add the heavy whipping cream, and then I'm going to add some salt. At the very end, I'm going to add some salt and then see how much correction I need in that. Also, one thing I forgot to add, this is cayenne pepper. If you want a little bit of heat. So there's a misconception, I think, when people hear the word curry, they think it's automatically going to be very, very, very hot. And that is just not the case at all. To me, curry is a lot of kind of interesting and big, lovely kind of aromatic flavors. Curry can be hot, and only if you add chilies, only if you add cayenne pepper, but this is completely up to you. Curry does not automatically mean hot. I may add a little bit of cayenne at the end because I do like this soup with a little bit of heat, but I don't have to. How am I doing on time? Okay. That actually came together faster than I thought it would because I really thought it was going to be right up on the wire with this recipe. So at this point, what I want to talk about is the rice. You don't have to serve this soup with rice, but it is kind of nice to serve it over some rice. And I have two kinds of rice here. I have this basmati. This is just, I think it's Aldi, or maybe it's Walmart. I'm not sure. It's not fancy. It's just a basmati rice. I either got it at Aldi or Walmart. And the fiber in this white rice is pretty low because it has been polished. And so what that means is that this is brown rice. So this rice started its life with kind of an outer husk or an outer shell that contained some iron and contained high fiber. And in order to make it this kind of white rice and 20 minutes to cook. So this white rice, this basmati, will take 20 minutes to cook, but the fiber is lower than this brown rice because this brown rice takes 40 minutes to cook because it has not been polished. So a brown rice, the difference between a brown rice and a white rice is a brown rice has not been polished, meaning its kind of outer husk of fiber has not been removed. And that's why it takes 40 minutes to cook. And that might be why it's a bit more starchy, or maybe you don't like it as much because it's a heavier grain because it's got this additional fiber. But if you are looking to increase your fiber and you want to still enjoy rice, brown rice is the choice for you if you want more fiber. So, but I understand some folks don't really like brown rice. I get that. And so what I do recommend is that you take, I call it the 50-50 quinoa rice cook in the same pan. One pan, I'm not asking you to dirty 2 and 3 pans. I wouldn't do that to you. One pan, same pan. You do like 2 cups of water, and then you'll do a half cup of white rice and a half cup of quinoa. 20 minutes, they'll both cook. Each of them will be done perfect, ready to go in 20 minutes. So it's a way to, one, introduce quinoa, which is technically a seed, to your family where they may be like, I don't really like quinoa. Don't do that. But if you can mix it in with rice, it might make it a bit more palatable. It's a way to make a grain that has like triple the protein and quadruple the fiber over white rice. So bigger bang for the buck. If you can mix in a little bit of quinoa with your rice when you cook it, either in a rice cooker or saucepan, however you do it, you will be getting so much more nutrition, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, so much more protein, triple the protein. and so much more fiber, quadruple the fiber. And as we go into 2026, my prediction from what I can gather, observing food, because that's what I do all day, is just pay attention to food, is that it's going to be fiber, 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 fiber. And it's going to come to you in the form of supplements and gummies and all kinds of other things. And this will be Big Food's way to take the next hot thing, because protein was the hot thing and it's kind of fading in popularity. And fiber is going to be the next big thing. And you're going to be just slammed over the head with products. Metamucil's got gummies out. You're going to see foods now with extra fiber, And my advice for you will always be to get your fiber from whole food sources, because when you get your fiber from whole food sources, you also get minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, protein. When you get your fiber from a gummy, you get sugar and fiber. That's it. That's all you get is sugar, or artificial sugar and fiber, because they also know they want us to look out for added sugars. When you get your fiber from lentils, you will get protein, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants. When you get your fiber from an apple, you'll get minerals, vitamins, antioxidants. Believe it or not, a little bit of protein. I looked up the protein on a halo, which is a little tangerine. There's a gram of protein in one halo. Now, you might think, well, that's just a gram. But who knew that I didn't know that a little tangerine had 1 gram of protein. So if it's in a halo, where else is it? It's in a lot of different foods. For instance, a medium potato has 6 grams of protein. So I just don't want you to only look to your meat sources. Meat is an excellent source of protein, and I'm not saying don't eat meat. I'm not vegetarian or vegan myself. I am saying that the plant world is chock full of protein. And don't discount all the gorgeous protein that you will find in fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, whole grains, which is where you're also going to find the fiber, and it's where you're also going to find the minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. I know I sound like a broken record, but let's make 2026 about whole foods. Let's get away from foods that came through factories. Let's eat foods and like the way they looked as they came from the farm. Okay, look at your food. Does this look like factory food, or does this look like farm food? And not perfect, but if you can start to make some changes, slow changes. I'm going to choose more whole foods over processed foods. I'm telling you, will have an easier time if you want weight loss. You will have an easier time if you're trying to manage your blood glucose, if you're trying to bring down that blood pressure. If you want, doc is like, I'm going to put you on a statin if you don't bring that down, that cholesterol. All kinds of good things can happen when we move away from factory foods and move towards whole foods. Blah, blah, blah. I could just talk about this till I'm blue in the face. So this soup is coming together beautifully. It smells, this is my favorite recipes because it comes together so fast. It is so soothing. As our lentils are cooking, they are releasing some of their starch, and that starch is kind of thickening up the stew, or the soup, excuse me. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of this heavy whipping cream. Now this is full of fat. This is a heavy whipping cream. I decided to buy it so I could I'm going to make a sauce later on, and so I wanted just to have it. So instead of, because they didn't have the coconut milk, I went ahead and bought this. I'm just going to start with a little bit. That's maybe a quarter cup, third cup, okay? And then going to blend it in. I'll bring up the heat. But it completely changed the color and the profile of this soup. Okay, it completely changed the color and the profile of this soup. It made it kind of creamy. It's going to add a little bit of sugar, because in all dairy there is lactose, and that is sugar. And so when you add dairy to things, it adds like a creaminess, a richness, and it also adds a little bit of sweet. So I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit, let this simmer. I may make some rice. I'm not sure. I don't have to. You could just eat it in a bowl, or you can serve it over rice. If you wanted to add some chicken to this, you could have taken some chicken and sauteed it when we were doing the onions, if you wanted to add some chicken to it. But other than that, this is not vegan because we used dairy. We used cow's milk dairy. But if you want it to be vegan, then coconut milk does the same thing. I'm going to taste for salt. And then one thing I might do is I might add just a little bit of sugar, just to give it just a little bit of sweet. because that's a cool combo when you got a little bit of sweet, a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of ginger, and some garlic. I know it sounds strange, but it's all this gorgeous blend of all this kind of interesting things. What an easy soup to make on a weeknight. 30 minutes, it's almost ready to go. You saw how quickly that came together. So I am at 11:28, and I can take any questions if you have any questions. And if not, we'll wrap up in a couple minutes. I just tasted it. It tastes great. However, my lentils are not done. So they need to cook for longer. So I'm just going to let those lentils get soft. It does need salt. I took a bite. It does need salt. It has great flavor, but it does need salt. That salt's going to bring out a lot of those flavor. Not much, just a little bit. You always add more, can't back out. And I'm going to cook it for probably I'm going to give it another 10 minutes on high. Let those lentils get nice and soft, and then I am ready to eat. So that's 11:30. My name is Wendy Wesley. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist, and I thank you very, very much for listening today. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Wendy. That was terrific. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. You too.